Hey guys and ghouls, welcome back to the Cozy Ghost. I'm your host October, and welcome back to Cozy Ghost Babbles, a series where I babble on for 10 minutes about whatever I want to talk about. Usually we spin a wheel, so let's get right into that. Alright, we've got our wheel all pulled up, and I'm blocking a little bit of it, but I'm also blocking the ads. Just kidding. I didn't need to do that. Give me a second. Alright, we've got the wheel up, and we are ready to spin it, so let's see what I'm talking about today. I am talking about The Big Bang Theory. It's a show that I really like. Interesting. Okay. This will be the first, I think, pop culture episode. So, yeah, let's get right into it. The Big Bang Theory, it is a sitcom that ran for about 10 years, in the early 2000s and early 2010s. It was really popular because it did something that a lot of shows hadn't really done before. It was a sitcom about nerds, kind of for nerds. Every episode is named after like a different scientific theory. All of the main characters, except for one, were scientists at a university. So you've got your four main guys: Sheldon, Leonard, Howard, and Koothrappali. Rajesh Koothrappali. He's fun. I love Raj. Raj is one of my favorite characters, so I'll talk a bit more about him in a second. And then Penny. Penny is their neighbor, who is, at first she kind of fulfills that ditzy blonde stereotype, but as she gets through the series, she is an actress who really wants to make it big. It doesn't go super well for her, unfortunately. She is one of the many actresses in LA searching for that big break, and for some people it just doesn't come. Which was a reality I was really glad that they talked about on the show. Because no, not everyone actually does get their big break. It happens. Like, most people do not become super famous rich actor celebrities. Like, there are hundreds of thousands of actors. Most of them aren't super famous, unfortunately, which is why unions are really important. But that's not the topic of this video. The topic of this video is Big Bang Theory, the TV show. So a couple of the things I really liked about this show is that it showcased a lot of really stereotypically nerdy hobbies, like D&D, or video games, or Star Wars. Hobbies that really hadn't really gotten the limelight before this show. And this show actually got me into a lot of it. Big Bang Theory is my first introduction to Dungeons and Dragons, which I really like. It was also my first introduction to, trying to think, into other series, it got me kind of into DC and Marvel a little bit. Not because I wasn't interested in it before, but just because it was so prevalent throughout the series. And same with Star Trek and Star Wars, and all of the stuff that was very heavy in the show was stuff that I slowly got to know because of it, and I'm really grateful for that, because I'm a big nerd. I really like stuff like that. But I also really liked the way that the characters worked. I thought Leonard was really relatable for a while. I thought Raj was great because he's a very feminine character, but he's not queer. Like, he's a straight man who is very in touch with his femininity, which is great. Do I wish the show was a little bit more diverse in a variety of ways? Yeah, I really do. Do I wish the show had handled their portrayal of Sheldon a little bit differently? Yeah. I can't really touch upon Sheldon's character because I personally don't have any experience with what they were trying to portray with that. But I liked his character. I understood a lot of what he was saying, even if he was annoying sometimes. Like, yeah. But I also really liked Penny. Penny was a character that I'm glad that they had. I wish they hadn't done so much to over-sexualize her. That was a little annoying. But I also really loved her actress, Kaylee Cuoco. She's great. She also voices Harley Quinn in the animated series, so that's pretty awesome. But she's a really talented actress, and she portrayed that character really well. And Penny was really a character that I, held on to, because her relationship with Leonard was really dysfunctional for a really long time. Oh, I can tell you one of my pet peeves with the show. They did this thing where they had two of the characters be very against pregnancy and very against having a kid. Totally fine. Kind of cool that they touched upon that. However, both of these characters end up getting pregnant and keeping them, which is fine. But they made such a big deal about these characters not wanting to have children, like to make that a firm point, and then went back on it for both of them, which is kind of giving the message that as strong as an opinion you'll have, you'll change your mind as soon as you have kids, which is kind of irritating. Because no, not everyone is going to change their minds. And I really wish they'd stuck to their guns with that for Penny. Especially at the end of the series. Like, I get why they did it, but it still kind of irks me, personally. I really liked Raj, again, because they make fun of him a lot throughout the series. Like, a lot. For pretty much everything. Like, he doesn't hold down a girlfriend for a while. And then when he has a girlfriend who really cares about him, they make him stay and have her leave, which annoyed the hell out of me, actually. Because as much as Howard was his best friend, Howard was really awful to him. Like, really mean. So Howard and Bernadette were actually my least favorite characters in the series because they just were super mean and everyone let them get away with it. And they were also really bad to each other a lot. Like, ugh. They're my least favorite characters in the series, especially as a couple. Like, they were really horrible to, like, Sheldon and Amy, and they're just... Like, Howard got away with making fun of everyone all the time. And then as soon as it got turned on him, he got, like, all sensitive about it. It's like, no, that's not fair. Same thing with Bernadette. Annoyed the hell out of me. I really liked Amy. I don't like the way they treated her in the first couple seasons she was in, because they kind of made her the butt of every joke, which was not my favorite thing. I really liked the way where they portrayed her and Sheldon's relationship, though, because I always personally perceived Sheldon as being some flavor of Ace because of the way that he acted around sex and romance. And I totally get that he, like, they ended up having him, like, in a committed, like, comfortable relationship. But it also felt like they had a lot of opportunity to do more with him than they did. Which will always, like, be the one thing that I wish they could have done with that show specifically. But overall, I thought they touched really well upon a lot of issues within the nerd community. Like, they touched on a lot of the fact that nerds it's a community that over-sexualizes women and treats them as unequal, which is really bullshit. But then they touch upon the fact that they want more women in these spaces. And then you see how they want more women in these spaces. It's like, okay, do you really? Do you want more women in these spaces, or do you want more women in these spaces that you can sexualize and objectify? Like, come on, let's talk about this. Yeah. I wish there's a lot of things I love about this show. It's one of my comfort shows. I watch it all the time because it's very reliable for me. But I have my issues with it. One of the things I did like, they had a lot of guest stars. They had a lot of really fun guest stars, and my favorite is Will Wheaton. I got to see Will Wheaton at a convention recently, and he is the sweetest, nicest guy you will ever meet. He is so sweet. I started listening to his audiobook. Oh my god. Y'all should totally buy his book. He's great. But the character he plays on the show is nothing like what he is like in real life. He is much nicer than that. He's just a really, really lovely person. And he talks about the show with lots of love. And it's great. They also had Stephen Hawking on there a lot. They had Neil deGrasse Tyson. They had... Bob Newhart. Oh, rest in peace. He was such a phenomenal actor. I'm so upset that he passed recently. But it was a really good show, and I really enjoyed it. But, yeah. It was good. They could have done more with it, in my opinion. And they have the spin-off Young Sheldon, which ended recently. I have a bone to pick with Young Sheldon, but that can be a separate video. And then they have a spin-off of that show, which is Mandy and, what is it? Mandy and Georgie's first marriage? Fascinating. Yeah. The one thing I don't like about a lot of Young Sheldon is how much they retcon from Big Bang Theory. A lot of things that happen in Big Bang Theory, like about Sheldon's childhood specifically, I think they just decided were too dark to include in the show, and so they tried to act as if it didn't happen, or as if Sheldon remembered it differently. And personally, that's a really big pet peeve of mine, like incontinuities in shows like that, because it's like, okay, Sheldon says a lot of very specific things about his past, like, they left a lot of it out of the Young Sheldon show. But I will touch upon that in an entirely different episode, because I am all out of time for this one. So, if you have any thoughts about Big Bang Theory that you want to talk about, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to talk about it. I really like the show. I have issues with it. You're allowed to critique things that you love. Fun fact, it's better if you do, actually. Because if you really love something, you can really critique it. So, yeah, I hope you've had a fun time listening to me babble on for how many minutes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!